The moment our ship pierced the atmosphere of Elysium, a shiver ran down my spine. I gazed out of the viewport, my heart racing as the stunning yet eerie landscape unfolded beneath us. The surface shimmered with hues of blue and violet, and at the center, a colossal crystal labyrinth sparkled under the alien sky, reflecting light like a million diamonds scattered across a field of glass. It was beautiful and terrifying all at once. "Prepare for landing," I shouted, my voice steady despite the excitement bubbling within me. I could see Eleni and Nikos moving about the cabin, their faces mirroring my own anticipation. Eleni, with her wild curls bouncing as she secured her equipment, had always been the brain of our team. Meanwhile, Nikos, with his skeptical frown, was busy checking the ship's systems, as if a malfunction would suddenly arise just to spite us. As the ship touched down, I turned to face my team. "This is it, everyone. We're standing on the threshold of discovery. The labyrinth is rumored to hold an enigma at its center, an enigma that grants unlimited power to whoever solves it. We can't afford to waste any time." Eleni's eyes sparkled with enthusiasm. "Imagine the scientific breakthroughs. The knowledge we could gain," she trailed off, her voice almost a whisper. I could see the gears turning in her mind, envisioning the endless possibilities. "Or the dangers we might face," Nikos interjected, crossing his arms in that familiar skeptical manner. "We don't know how this labyrinth works. What if it's a trap?" His concern wasn't unfounded. I shared it, but I couldn't let it show. "We'll proceed with caution. But we can't let fear dictate our actions. We are explorers, and this is our chance to uncover the truth." I glanced at both of them, gauging their reactions. They nodded, albeit reluctantly. Gathering our equipment, we exited the ship, stepping onto the soft, spongy ground of Elysium. The air was thick with an otherworldly energy, and the labyrinth loomed before us, its crystal walls pulsating as if alive. I felt an almost magnetic pull, urging me to step closer. "Look at that," Eleni said, her voice filled with awe. She pointed at the labyrinth's entrance, where the crystalline structures refracted light into dazzling patterns. "It's incredible. The refraction, it's unlike anything I've ever seen." "Yeah, but it's also shifting," Nikos muttered. "We have no clue what's inside or how it changes." He glanced warily at the walls, which seemed to ripple like water, a clear indication of their unpredictability. "We should be careful. We don't want to get lost in there." "Let's stick together," I said, trying to ease his worries. "We'll enter as a team. No one gets left behind." I felt the weight of leadership resting on my shoulders, a reminder that I had to keep my team united and focused. With a deep breath, we stepped inside the labyrinth. Immediately, a chill ran through me. The air was cooler here, and the reflections of light created a kaleidoscope of colors dancing around us. Every step we took echoed softly, adding to the surreal atmosphere. Eleni was entranced, her eyes darting from one crystal formation to another, while Nikos remained vigilant, his gaze scanning for any signs of danger. "Do you hear that?" Eleni suddenly asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Hear what?" Nikos responded, furrowing his brow. "It's like a hum. A rhythmic sound," she insisted, stepping deeper into the labyrinth. I strained to listen, and sure enough, there it was, a low, almost melodic vibration resonating through the walls. Just as I was about to respond, I felt a tremor beneath my feet. The ground shifted, and without warning, the walls began to move, rearranging themselves in a spectacular yet frightening display. "Dimitris!" Eleni shouted, her voice rising above the chaos. "Nikos!" I called out, but it was too late. The shifting walls separated us, trapping Eleni and me in one section, while Nikos was pushed into another. Panic surged through me as I rushed toward the shifting barrier, my hand pressing against the cool surface. "Stay calm," I yelled, trying to keep my voice steady for Eleni's sake. "We'll find a way to regroup." "What do we do?" she asked, her eyes wide with fear, yet the determination in her voice shone through. "We find a way out." "Together," I replied, my mind racing as I scanned our surroundings. The labyrinth had begun to close in around us, and the only choice was to move forward. With a deep breath, I took her hand. "Let's go!" As we ventured deeper into the maze, the uncertainty of what lay ahead loomed over us. The labyrinth, alive and breathing, whispered secrets we had yet to understand. The walls of the labyrinth shimmered around us, the crystalline structures reflecting the dim, otherworldly light. With the sudden shift that had separated us from Nikos, a wave of urgency surged through me. I turned to Eleni, who stood with a look of determination etched on her face, her eyes darting across the maze as if searching for answers hidden in the patterns of the crystals. "We need to find a way out of here, and fast," I said, my voice steady despite the unease gnawing at my gut. "The labyrinth is alive, and it won't wait for us to figure things out." Eleni nodded, her brow furrowed. "If we can understand how the crystals interact with each other, we might be able to predict the movements of the walls." She stepped closer to a shimmering crystal, reaching out to touch its surface. "These formations, they're not just random. There's a pattern." I watched her, captivated by her enthusiasm even in such a precarious situation. "What do you need from me?" "Help me gather data. We need to analyze the properties of these crystals." "Maybe we can find a way to read their shifts," she replied, pulling a small device from her pack. It looked like a compact, futuristic tablet, equipped with various sensors and a digital interface. "Okay," I said, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on my shoulders. "Let's do it." As she activated the tablet, a soft hum emanated from the device, and a holographic display projected an intricate map of our surroundings. The labyrinth's layout unfolded before us, with the shifting walls represented as colorful waves, continuously fluctuating. "Look!" Eleni exclaimed, pointing to a section of the map. When the walls shift, they seem to follow a rhythm. It's almost like they're reacting to something. "Something?" I echoed, intrigued. "What do you mean?" "Perhaps our movements," she mused, tapping on the screen. "If we can find the source of this rhythm, we might be able to control our path through the labyrinth." Before I could respond, a faint whisper echoed through the air, sending a chill down my spine. "Did you hear that?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Eleni's eyes widened. "Yes. It's coming from over there." She gestured toward a darker corridor that branched off to our left. The light seemed to dim as if the shadows were eager to envelop us. "We should be cautious," I warned, the skeptical voice of Nikos echoing in my mind. "We don't know what's lurking in this place." "We need to investigate," she insisted, her curiosity igniting her determination. "It could be a clue." I hesitated, the instinct to protect her clashing with my desire to uncover the labyrinth's secrets. "All right. But we stick together, no matter what." As we ventured deeper into the shadowy corridor, the whispers grew louder, swirling around us like a haunting melody. I strained to catch the words, but they eluded me, slipping through my fingers like sand. "Do you think it's a trick?" I asked, glancing at Eleni. "What if it's leading us into a trap?" "Maybe," she admitted, her voice steady, "but we can't turn back now. We have to know what's at the center of this labyrinth. There's a reason we were brought here." Just then, the walls trembled, and the ground beneath us shifted. We stumbled, bracing ourselves against the crystalline structures. The whispering intensified, filling the air with a sense of urgency. "Dimitris!" Eleni shouted, her eyes wide with fear. "We need to move!" I nodded, adrenaline pumping through my veins. "This way!" I led her down the corridor, the whispers now a cacophony, each word a haunting echo that sent shivers down my spine. "Power! Power!" they seemed to chant, and my heart raced. What power were they speaking of? Was it the same power the labyrinth promised to those who could solve its enigma? As we navigated the twisting turns, I couldn't shake the feeling that we weren't alone. The shadows danced around us, and I could almost see figures lurking just beyond the edges of the light. My mind raced with thoughts of Nikos, wondering if he was safe, or if he was already entangled in the labyrinth's dark secrets. "Dimitris," Eleni whispered, breaking my reverie. "Look at that!" Ahead of us, the corridor opened up into a vast chamber. The walls sparkled with countless crystals, and in the center, a pulsating light flickered like a heartbeat. It drew me in, a beacon of hope amidst the uncertainty. "What do you think it is?" I asked, my voice barely a murmur. "I don't know," Eleni replied, her gaze fixed on the light. "But we have to find out." As we stepped into the chamber, the whispers began to fade, replaced by a heavy silence that enveloped us like a thick fog. I felt a chill run down my spine, and instinctively, I reached for Eleni's hand. "Whatever happens next, we face it together," I said, steeling my resolve. "Together," she echoed, squeezing my hand tightly. The light pulsed again, and for a moment, I felt a surge of energy coursing through me, as if the labyrinth itself was aware of our presence. But just as quickly as it came, the sensation vanished, leaving us in the eerie silence once more. What awaited us in this place? The unknown loomed before us, and as the shadows flickered at the edges of our vision, I couldn't shake the feeling that danger was closing in. The whispers echoed around us, a haunting melody that seemed to seep from the very walls of the labyrinth. I could feel the tension between Eleni and me as we stood in the dimly lit corridor, crystals refracting the faint light into a kaleidoscope of colors. The air was thick with anticipation, and my heart raced, partly from the thrill of discovery and partly from the fear of what lay ahead. "Did you hear that?" Eleni asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Her eyes sparkled with a mix of excitement and apprehension. "Yeah, it's like the labyrinth is trying to speak to us," I replied, straining to catch the next fragment of sound. The whispers seemed to dance through the air, weaving in and out of comprehension. "There has to be a pattern to it. We need to focus." Eleni nodded, her brows furrowing in concentration. "If we can decipher the whispers, maybe they'll lead us closer to the center. It's said that the heart of the labyrinth holds the key to unimaginable power." I took a deep breath, trying to calm my racing thoughts. "Let's analyze what we have. It could be a riddle, a series of instructions, something." I stepped closer to her, the sharp angles of the crystals casting eerie shadows across our faces. "You're the scientist here. What do you think?" She bit her lip, her gaze fixed on the pattern of light dancing before us. "I think the crystals are sending out vibrations, and those vibrations are what we're hearing. If we can tune into them, maybe we can understand their meaning." Eleni knelt down, tracing her fingers along the crystal surface. "Look at the way these crystals are aligned," she murmured. "Each one resonates differently. It's almost like they're forming a melody." I squatted beside her, peering at the arrangement. "So, we need to find the right frequency to unlock the message. But how do we?" Suddenly, the walls around us began to shift, the crystal surfaces glimmering as they morphed into new shapes. "Dimitris!" Eleni exclaimed, scrambling to her feet. "We have to move. Stay close!" I shouted, grabbing her hand as we raced down the corridor. The whispers grew louder, more urgent, as if the labyrinth was aware of our presence and wanted us to follow its lead. The shifting walls closed in behind us, and I could feel the adrenaline pumping through my veins. "Look!" Eleni pointed ahead, where the corridor opened into a wider space. The whispers crescendoed into a chorus, a haunting invitation that beckoned us forward. "It's coming from there." We burst into the chamber, and my breath caught in my throat. The room was filled with remnants of past explorers, tattered clothing, rusted tools, and eerie inscriptions carved into the crystal walls. A chill ran down my spine. This is where they failed," I whispered, my voice trembling with the weight of history. Eleni's eyes widened as she stepped further into the chamber, examining the artifacts. "We need to be careful. There's a reason they didn't make it back." I glanced around, feeling the oppressive weight of unseen eyes watching us. "Do you think the whispers are warning us? Or luring us in?" she replied, her voice steady despite the fear that danced in her eyes. "We must keep listening. There might be clues here." Carefully, I approached one of the inscriptions, the words almost glowing in the dim light. "The power you seek is not without cost," I read aloud, my voice echoing ominously off the walls. "Only those with pure intentions may find the truth." Eleni stepped closer, her expression grave. "What does that mean?" "It's a warning, isn't it? We need to be sure we're doing this for the right reasons. Absolutely, I replied, feeling a knot of anxiety tighten in my stomach. Power can corrupt. We must remember why we came here. As we absorbed the weight of the inscription, the whispers began to shift again, swirling around us with a new intensity. Dimitris, it's changing. Eleni exclaimed, her eyes wide with alarm. We have to get out of here. No! Wait! I urged, grasping her arm. We can't leave without understanding what this means. We have to decipher this before it's too late. But the walls began to shift violently, the chamber trembling as if in response to our defiance. I could feel the ground beneath us quake, and fear gripped my heart. Eleni, we need to go, now! With a shared glance of determination, we sprinted back into the labyrinth, the whispers chasing us like dark shadows. As the walls closed in around us, I could only hope that we weren't too late to uncover the truth hidden within the shifting maze. As we stepped into the hidden chamber, a palpable sense of foreboding filled the air. The crystalline walls shimmered with a ghostly light, casting eerie shadows that danced around us. I could feel Eleni's presence beside me, her breath shallow as we took in our surroundings. In the center of the chamber stood a pedestal, and atop it hovered a holographic projection of a figure, cloaked in a shimmering robe, its features indistinct but its voice resonant with urgency. Beware, seekers of power, the figure intoned, its voice echoing through the chamber like a whispering wind. The labyrinth is not merely a maze of crystals, it is a test. Those who seek its secrets must be prepared to pay a price far greater than they can imagine. I exchanged a glance with Eleni, her eyes wide with a mix of awe and fear. What kind of price? She murmured, barely above a whisper. The holographic figure continued, many have come before you, drawn by the promise of unimaginable power. Yet, they were consumed by their greed. The labyrinth feeds on ambition and desire. Only those with pure intentions may find the truth at its heart. What does it mean by pure intentions? I muttered, running a hand through my hair in frustration. The implication weighed heavy on me. Do we even qualify? Eleni stepped closer to the projection, her analytical mind racing. We have to consider our motives. Are we here for personal gain, or are we seeking knowledge for the greater good? The figure's expression shifted, a hint of sorrow shadowing its features. Only you can answer that. But beware, for the shadows of your past may rise to challenge your resolve. Suddenly, the chamber trembled as if the very walls were reacting to the warning. I instinctively reached for Eleni's arm, grounding myself amid the disorienting shift. We need to move. We can't linger here. There's no telling how the labyrinth will react to this. As we turned to leave, the hologram flickered and faded, leaving us engulfed in darkness. Dimitris, Eleni said, her voice trembling slightly, what if we're not meant to find the center? What if the labyrinth is designed to keep us from it? Then we adapt, I replied firmly, though doubt gnawed at my insides. We've made it this far. We can't turn back now. The air grew thick with tension as we navigated our way back toward the shifting walls. Each step felt heavier, as if the labyrinth itself was testing our resolve. I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched, our every move scrutinized. Meanwhile, a different scenario unfolded within the labyrinth. Nikos, under the guise of loyalty to the rogues, stood in a dimly lit alcove, his heart racing as he relayed our progress to the group. They found a hidden chamber, he reported, trying to mask the tremor in his voice. They're getting closer to the center. One of the rogue explorers, a tall figure with sharp features and a calculating gaze, leaned in closer. We can't let them succeed. They must pay for their ambition. We need to find a way to sabotage their path. Nikos clenched his fists, a wave of guilt washing over him. He could feel the weight of betrayal pressing down on him like a vice. What if they're not as ambitious as you think? They might be genuinely trying to uncover the truth, he ventured, hoping to test the waters. The rogue leader's eyes narrowed. Ambition is a dangerous game, my friend. Don't forget why we're here. Power is our only goal. As Nikos nodded, a part of him screamed in protest. He had come to trust Dimitris and Eleni, and now, he found himself caught in a web of deceit. The labyrinth was changing him, and with each word he spoke, he felt himself slipping further away from his friends. Back in the chamber, Eleni and I finally emerged from the hidden passage, the echoes of the holographic figures still fresh in my mind. "Do you think Nikos is alright?" she asked, her brow furrowed with concern. "I hope so," I replied, though uncertainty gnawed at me. "But we can't dwell on that. We have to focus on what's next. We need to trust each other more than ever." Just as we began to move forward, a sudden chill enveloped us, and shadows flickered at the edges of our vision. I froze, my heart racing. "Did you see that?" I whispered, my voice barely audible. Eleni nodded, her face pale. "We're not alone, are we?" "No," I said, a sense of dread creeping into my bones. "We need to find Nikos. We need to figure out what's happening before it's too late." As we pressed on, the shadows grew bolder, weaving in and out of our sight, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something dark was closing in on us, something that had been waiting for the right moment to strike. As we moved deeper into the labyrinth, the shimmering walls morphed around us like a living creature, reflecting not only the light but also the shadows of our fears. I could feel the weight of the atmosphere pressing against my chest, a physical reminder of the dangers we faced. Eleni walked beside me, her brow furrowed in concentration as she examined the crystalline structures. "Dimitris," she said, her voice steady yet laced with unease, "these illusions, they're more than just tricks. They're trying to provoke us." I nodded, fully aware of the truth in her words. The path shifted again, and suddenly, I was standing at the edge of a precipice. Below, a swirling abyss of darkness loomed, whispering promises of power and despair. "Eleni, stay close," I commanded, my heart racing. "We need to keep our wits about us." "Look," she exclaimed, pointing at a wall that shimmered with an otherworldly glow. "It reflects our deepest insecurities. We have to push through it." As we stepped closer, the shimmering surface began to display distorted images of our past, moments of doubt, failure, and fear. I saw myself standing before my commanding officer, failing to secure a critical mission. The memory gnawed at me, a reminder of how fragile my confidence could be. "No," I whispered, shaking my head in an attempt to dispel the vision. "That's not who I am anymore." I turned to Eleni, who looked equally troubled. "What do you see?" Her eyes were wide, tears threatening to spill. "I see my father, disappointed in me for choosing this path, for leaving him behind." Her vulnerability struck a chord deep within me. "But I know I have to do this. We have to do this." With a shared resolve, we pressed forward, pushing through the illusions that sought to ensnare us. Yet, as we turned a corner, I felt a sudden shift in the air, an electric tension that made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. "Eleni, I..." Before I could finish, a voice echoed from behind us, low and menacing. "You're not alone, are you?" It was Nikos, stepping into view, flanked by a group of rogue explorers. My heart sank. "Is this what you've chosen, Nikos?" I shouted, struggling to keep my composure. "To side with them?" His expression was a mix of defiance and uncertainty. "I didn't have a choice, Dimitris. They've promised power, safety, everything we've been searching for." "Safety?" Eleni spat, her voice rising in anger. "You think they care about us? They'll use you, just like they plan to use the labyrinth's power." The rogues chuckled, their leader stepping forward. "You really think you can stand in our way? This labyrinth reveals the truth, and the truth is that power is all that matters." In that moment, I felt the full weight of betrayal and desperation. "Nikos, please. Remember who we are. We came here as a team." As the tension escalated, I could see the conflict in Nikos' eyes. He was torn, I could feel it radiating from him. I don't know what to believe anymore," he whispered, almost to himself. "Then choose wisely," I urged, stepping closer to him. "You can't let fear lead you down this path. We're stronger together." But before he could respond, the rogues lunged at us, the air thick with hostility. I grabbed Eleni's arm, pulling her back as we braced for impact. "Stay close. We need to find a way out." The labyrinth's walls trembled as the rogue leader shouted commands, the crystalline formations vibrating ominously. "Seize them! They can't escape! Dimitris, what do we do?" Eleni cried, her voice rising above the chaos. I scanned the shifting walls, searching for any sign of an escape. "We fight! We can't let them take what's not theirs." As the first rogue charged at me, adrenaline surged through my veins. I sidestepped, using the rogue's momentum against him, and pushed him towards the wall. The crystal shimmered darkly as he collided with it, and for a brief moment, the labyrinth seemed to react, pulsating with energy. "Nikos!" I shouted, desperate for him to remember our bond. "We need you. Stand with us." In that moment, surrounded by chaos, I watched as Nikos hesitated, caught between two worlds, the loyalty he had for us and the allure of power that promised to consume him. The air was thick with uncertainty, and as the rogue surged forward, I could only hope that he would choose wisely. The air crackled with tension as I stood at the threshold of the labyrinth's center, flanked by Eleni and Nikos. The crystalline walls radiated an otherworldly glow, casting prismatic reflections that danced around us. I could feel the weight of the rogues behind me, their presence a dark cloud threatening to extinguish our hard-earned hope. "Dimitris, we need to act now," Eleni urged, her voice steady yet urgent. "If we don't confront them, we risk losing everything we've worked for." I nodded, my resolve hardening. "You're right, Eleni. We've come too far to let them take what's rightfully ours." Nikos, still wrestling with his allegiance, shifted his weight uneasily. "But what if they have a plan? They're dangerous, and we're outnumbered." "They may be many, but we have something they don't," I replied, glancing at my companions. "We have each other." As if on cue, the rogues emerged from the shadows, their leader, a tall figure named Eris, stepping forward with a malevolent grin. "Looks like the little heroes have come to face their fate. How quaint." "Enough of this, Eris," I shot back, my voice echoing off the labyrinth's walls. "You think you can just waltz in here and claim the power for yourself?" "Power?" he sneered. "You still don't understand, do you? The labyrinth doesn't just offer power, it demands a sacrifice. And I'm willing to pay the price." Eleni's eyes widened. "The price? What do you mean?" Eris laughed, a sound devoid of warmth. "You'll soon find out. But first, let's see how well you've learned from this shiny maze of yours." With a swift motion, he signaled to his followers, and they surged forward. I felt adrenaline surge through my veins as we braced ourselves. "Eleni, Nikos, stick close. We fight together." We dodged and weaved as the rogues advanced, the labyrinth shifting around us in response to our actions. Eleni unleashed a burst of energy, her scientific knowledge transforming into a shield of light that deflected an incoming attack. "Good job, Eleni. Keep it up," I shouted, feeling a surge of pride. Nikos, finally shedding his doubts, charged forward alongside me. "I've got your back," he yelled, and for the first time, I sensed his unwavering commitment to our cause. As we fought, the labyrinth reacted to our intentions. Each blow we struck resonated with the crystal walls, causing the surroundings to shimmer and pulse with energy. We were not just battling the rogues, we were challenging the very essence of the labyrinth itself. Finally, we pushed through the chaos, forcing the rogues to retreat. Their confidence wavered as they realized we were no longer the frightened explorers they had initially encountered. "Now, let's get to the center," I urged, leading the charge. The path opened before us, revealing an ethereal chamber filled with light. At its heart stood the guardian of the labyrinth, a magnificent crystal entity pulsating with energy. "Who dares to approach?" it boomed, its voice resonating through the chamber like thunder. I stepped forward, heart pounding in my chest. "We've come to claim the power of the labyrinth, but not for selfish desires. We seek to use it for good." The guardian's crystalline form shifted, its colors swirling as it assessed our intentions. "Your hearts hold the truth, but what of the others?" Eris, emboldened by desperation, took a step forward. "We deserve this power. We will reshape the universe." The guardian's light dimmed ominously. "You seek power for destruction. You will pay the price for your ambition. In an instant, a powerful wave of energy surged from the Guardian, enveloping the rogues in light. Their screams echoed through the chamber as they were drawn into the labyrinth's depths, trapped within its shifting walls. I turned to Eleni and Nikos, our breaths heavy with disbelief. We did it. We're free. Eleni smiled, her eyes glistening with tears of relief. But the true power isn't what we found here, is it? Nikos nodded, a newfound clarity in his gaze. It's what we've become together. We've faced our fears and fought for each other. As we stepped out of the labyrinth, leaving the chaos behind, I realized that Elysium had transformed us. We were not conquerors but explorers reborn, carrying with us the understanding that true power lies in our bonds and the wisdom gathered through our journey.